Now, do I look here?
Good evening, everyone. This is Mayor Ed Malloy from Fairfield City Hall Chambers, and we are live prior to our council meeting for another edition of Inside Fairfield, where we get a chance to look at a lot of the community players and leaders that are making things happen in our community, and also discussion of some of the things that are going on behind the scenes. And it is my great pleasure tonight to introduce to us the newest member of the Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce and the Fairfield Economic Development Association, recently hired as Executive Director, Dian Gilmore.
Thank you, Mayor.
Welcome, Dian.
Thank you.
So, Dian, let's start a little bit with your background. You understand you are coming to us most recently from Houston.
Yes, I guess you could say it's quite a culture shock, but it's in a very, very positive way. You have to realize that I just came from a county that had 5 million citizens.
Okay.
And now, from moving here, less than 2 weeks actually, I'm now in a county with 16,000.
That's right.
I do savor it, however.
Good, I'm sure. Well, Dian, I know we've been very excited about the prospect of having someone take over for Bob Phipps, who's retiring and did a very nice job for us for many years with the Chamber. And we have a very different community. I think you're going to find that it is going to have elements that you would find in other urban areas, which you're very familiar with, but a lot of potential, and a lot of potential for growth and development. So what are your initial impressions of Fairfield and some of the business landscape that you've encountered already?
Well, I have to say, and since it is springtime, I think maybe a butterfly would be a great analogy.
Okay.
It's like a butterfly coming out and opening its wings. It's almost as if Fairfield is like a diamond in the rough that is just going to sparkle beyond recognition. I can tell you personally that the very first word that came to my mind is friendly.
Great. Well, we're happy to hear that.
So when I first came here to interview, no one really knew who I was, but I had such a wonderful feeling about it. And quite frankly, after my interview, I really hated to go home. And I said, I have to go?
That's great.
So I think that should tell you a lot about the community. It's something that stuck with me until they notified me that I was actually hired, and I just kept thinking to myself, I hope they hire me.
Good.
Because I love this community, the feeling that you get from the citizens.
Fantastic. Well, we have a tremendous history of higher education, of business development. As you're probably aware, most of our local manufacturing is owned locally as well. So we're not dependent on a lot of outside decisions that affect jobs and a lot of other things within the business community. We also have had a great explosion of entrepreneurship in the last 20 years. Some of those businesses have grown to become very big companies and very important companies in our community. But most of all, they have created an environment of willingness to achieve, creativity, motivation. It's a great environment for business to really thrive in. I think it's also something that is important for young people looking at this community as a place where they will live and stay also and be employed. Did you have that impression coming here as a professional woman and settling in the community? Did we make that impression good enough to you as well?
Oh, you did, absolutely, because one of the things that people have to realize is that, of course, there was a group of 8 people on a search committee who were looking at me, but I was also looking at the entire community. Right. So that goes both ways. But in terms of the creativity, one thing I do want to say, and I cannot remember where I read it, but you said it. And I want to quote you because it is so true. You said that you do have more of an opportunity to be creative here in your business in Fairfield, because you don't have the stresses of the big city, but yet you have everything to offer like a big city does.
Right.
So it gives you an opportunity to, in your business, to go sit at your desk and really make it happen, and without the external forces that, like traffic and a lot of crime and those kinds of things that you're always worrying about in a larger community.
Right. And there's a study that, recent study that shows that there are a lot of people that are moving from urban areas to smaller areas for quality of life reasons, but not really giving up the economic opportunities that they have in some of those bigger regions, and that people from the coasts are actually starting to move more inland. So they're marching our way.
That's true, and I would anticipate that would continue. The one facet of the community that I have not met yet would be your whole Entrepreneur Association. And when they meet, I'm very excited about that, because one person tells another, and Fairfield has really been recognized nationally in that regard. One of the examples that I heard was one of the members of that association met the governor of Mississippi, and after Hurricane Katrina, they called him, and he spent a couple of months there just trying to help the startup businesses after such devastation.
Yeah, there have been a lot of things learned here, and there are a lot of valuable lessons that can be shared with other communities. But as I say, we have a great history, and you'll also be representing the Fairfield Economic Development Association, and they have just completed 26 years in operation, have made a great contribution to our community in terms of land development, adding to our capital base, and being partners in attracting businesses. But I think what's most exciting is that for the last 2 years, the FEDA, the Chamber, the City of Fairfield, the Fairfield Entrepreneurs Association have all been meeting about bringing all of the best ideas together to form a new principle of marketing for the community and a new form of economic development that is more proactive. So I think your position is really designed to be that proactive element that will really get out and promote this community. A lot of the development that we've seen in the last 20 or 30 years has been somewhat organic, and yet it's come to represent something that's very, very possible to build on. And in doing so, shaping a marketing plan around that so that we capture all of those important elements that can be sold to businesses that are looking here, that can be sold to high-level executives that are considering moving to work for one of our companies. Your impressions about where those opportunities lie for us, and how important having a clear marketing message is?
Well, one thing I have noticed right off the bat is the fact that we need to keep younger people to stay in the community, because it's pretty amazing to me. All the people who I've talked to have said, well, I used to live in Fairfield and I had to come back. I was so excited to come back. And so if we could start that early, so that in the future that we don't have a mass exodus of the young people.
Provide as many opportunities as we can. Yeah, I think we're no different than any other city in Iowa. I mean, the statistics show that Iowa is the second oldest state in the nation by average age, behind Florida, which is a retirement state. So we're really the oldest state. And, I think, we also educate our children extremely well, and with that education, if we're not providing the opportunities behind that, they are going to go away.
Right.
And that's natural. Both of my children are away and probably will stay for some time, but I always hold out hope that when they settle down and want to raise children, they will come back to Fairfield.
Well, and it reminds me of how I grew up. I grew up in a very small community, and maybe with some of the young people, they say, oh, the lure of the big city, but once you've been through it for a while, there will come a point, I think, where they'll want to come back to a smaller community. I found that myself. That was the biggest draw for me.
Great.
Without having any family in Fairfield. It was just the diversity, the creativity, and everything that such a small community has to offer. Now, not every small town or community in Iowa has this much to offer, and that's a fact.
I agree, and I think that's one of our strengths, and that's one of the things that we have to market. We can distinguish ourselves from other small rural communities by marketing what it is that we have. Now, you're coming in also at an exciting time because for the last little more than a year, we have been working with a developer who has announced that they are going to be building a biodiesel plant in Fairfield.
Yes.
This is something that's really cutting edge in terms of renewable energy, and we had an ideal location and good partnerships, and I think we're very fortunate. Powershift Biofuels is going to be developing. The baton has been passed to you. What's the latest with
Well, I'll tell you the latest, and of course everyone knows with government, the federal government always says, hello, we're here to help you.
Okay.
When they say that, for example, one of the first things I saw in my office, and I'll raise my hand, 2 notebooks about this high from the dais, full of the EPA regulations. And that's a fact of life, having all those regulations. But the excellent news is that before I arrived in Fairfield, all of the EPA, that has all been settled, and we received a clearance letter for that property, as you well know.
Right.
So that was a huge hurdle to overcome, and that just took time to achieve that, as you could see by the pile of the report that the EPA had to go through. So having said that, sometime in May, there will be a major groundbreaking.
Excellent.
And I don't know the exact date today as we're sitting here, but I know that it will be next month. So
Fantastic.
That's very exciting.
It is very exciting. I know they're moving very quickly on that, and I was able to meet the engineers who are from Germany, who are actually building the plant. And I was very impressed that they're just coming off of a project where their company had built a new Hyundai car plant in southern Alabama.
Yes.
So they're quite a good engineering firm, and I think capable of developing this.
The plant you're talking about in Alabama, think about it, it was a mile long.
Wow. I know it was a 3-year project, so I know it must have really been something. So.
And also, this German engineer you're referring to, he also built a car plant in Australia.
I see.
So, to me, that's just amazing. He just said, there are great restaurants in Fairfield. And he's from Berlin.
That's great.
And so he was looking forward to coming back because he will spend a lot of time here once they break ground.
Right. Well, we want to make them all comfortable. That's great. No German restaurants yet, but
not
I'm sure
yet, but he may want to do that.
Right.
I think, Mayor, at some point it might be nice to maybe have a photo of what it will look like, just so that the citizens of Fairfield will know this is a major structure and how it's going to look, because it will definitely change that industrial area.
Well, I know that in the presentation that they gave to the public while they were here a month ago, it did include a slide that basically superimposed the same size plant that they've already built somewhere in Germany on that site. So we can get that. I'm sure that Dan Leach could provide that for us.
I think that once that starts up, people are just going to be amazed.
That's great. It may be the kind of thing where, like we have at the Civic Center site, or like you would do for any kind of a new building, is to have a picture of the architectural design for it in place so that people know that it's coming. Very welcome, because we've been living with that Brownfield for a long time. There were some really old, dilapidated buildings on that site, and there was a lot of red tape to cut through to get that removed. So having that cleared up is very, very positive.
But I'm also a firm believer in preservation, and so the nice part is the administrative building is going to be redone and preserved.
It is nice. It'll be a nice reminder of the past, nice connection to the past. It'll be very
of
good.
Everything that was there. So that's very exciting.
Diane, one of the things that we really haven't done in our community, and it would be nice to see us start to implement that, is to really collect some of the data around what we're doing. Jobs created, jobs lost, new companies, those sorts of things. Do you have experience in that area, keeping that kind of data, or have you seen that in other places that you have worked?
Yes, I have, and I can tell you that the area, it's called Area 15, which is a number of counties in the southern part of Iowa. They are really on the cutting edge in terms of interviewing companies. And so if you were the CEO of a manufacturing company, I would come to you to obtain the information, but I'd like to stress that it would be totally confidential, so that everyone could feel free to ask, what is it that we need to do as a community to help you grow? Or more importantly, stay.
And I think that's a great message. There's a term that's attached to that called economic gardening. And you know that when you're gardening, you're always cultivating and adding fertilizer and doing those kinds of things that will enhance growth. So we do need to pay attention to the companies that exist here within our community, and always be there to facilitate anything that they're doing to plan for growth.
Well, I do know that the manufacturers were interviewed with this form that all the other counties are using. And
this is the River Hills Initiative, I believe, That's which is the economic development arm of Area 15.
Yes. And they were interviewed in 2003, and I know that the plan calls for 2006 to give them a 3-year period and then go back to them. So I'm not the kind of person just to sit at my desk and say, gee, I wish I had something to do. That won't occur. So I do know that I will be out re-interviewing the companies so that we can see how have things improved. Or more importantly, how could the Chamber of Commerce as well as the Fairfield Economic Development Association help you?
Great. Well, from the chamber side, Diane, you know how important our downtown is and how important our retail is, and that's been the challenge of many local squares to keep the interest in their downtown. Over the last few years, we've really tried to put more attention there. There are more events that take place in the downtown. The Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce assisted us in putting together a comprehensive study of the downtown. An architectural firm made recommendations for revitalizing it from a streetscape standpoint. We have some dollars that are set aside for that. We've also applied for a state grant to add some money towards that. If all of that comes through, we'll be developing that infrastructure next year. How important do you feel the focus on the downtown and the retail establishments down there are to our vitality, and what would you do to enhance those?
Well, number one, I think it's critical because the timing of the grant is perfect timing because of when the bypass comes in. And even though I've been here, I can tell you for a short time, I've had a number of merchants say, we just don't want to be left out in the cold when the bypass comes. And quite frankly, I feel that with the uniqueness of the retail and couple that in with the events that are community-based, I don't feel that is going to happen, but we have to do everything as an organization to make sure that we're assisting their needs.
Very good. Very good. Yeah,
So-
I think we're all keenly aware of that, and I think the timing is probably good. And I think with our Convention and Visitors Bureau, our reputation as a destination is something that is growing, and we have to continue to build on that, so that 2 years from now, when we do open the bypass and many of those cars that would ordinarily be traveling through our community are running by, we're still making up for that with just that targeted destination, that targeted
Right.
attractiveness.
I do know that just my observation is that Art Walk, I have to tell you, I was sad to see it end on Friday night. I wish it could have lasted all weekend, so
Right.
I'm anxiously awaiting the May Art Walk.
Well,
but it brought so many people
Yeah.
in, and I hope that the merchants will, a lot of them were open,
Right.
but I hope that they
Yeah, we want to encourage more people to open
that they'll
for that.
open.
Yeah, there are many more people from out of town. In fact, Saturday I was in one store and one restaurant where I either overheard conversations of people who had come for the weekend from other parts of Iowa and who were here for Art Walk. So that really is starting to draw a lot of attention. And I know that we have a number of tour buses that are planned to come for Art Walk as well.
Right.
Well, Diane, this is about all the time we have
Well,
this
I
evening.
do thank you.
It was great
Please ask
opportunity.
me back again.
I absolutely
I'd be
will.
delighted to come.
Great. Thank you very much for taking the time, and
Okay.
welcome to Fairfield.
Thank you.
So thank you very much for joining us this evening with Dian Gilmore, our Executive Director for the Fairfield Area Chamber of Commerce and the Fairfield Economic Development Association. We will be continuing with our council meeting in about 5 minutes, so please stay tuned. I'm Ed Malloy. Thank you.